welcome back. It's been a minute. Actually, it hasn't. It's been 2 weeks. I know my Instagram says every Thursday's a new episode, but it's getting to a point now. It's like almost every other Thursday. But I finally just rearranged my second job schedule, so I feel like that'll definitely give me some more space to create. Because that was really bringing your girl down. So welcome back to another episode of the Inside Perspective with your host with the most, Aaliyah. When I was introducing my podcast to one of my coworkers at work and they looked at the page, they said, "Who is Lie?" And I was like, it's Lee, like short for Aaliyah. Like they're like, "Oh." And I'm not changing it specifically for that. I just felt like for a while, even when I had my podcast and I was very open and vulnerable with the things that I shared, for me in my brain, it was easier for Lee to do that than it was for Aaliyah to do that. And with the great intentional work that I've been doing with my therapist, it's time for, not even it's time, with me doing the work that I've done with my therapist has connected me back to so many parts of myself that I either ignored or removed or did whatever for whatever type of protection that I was trying to give to myself. And really people really didn't start calling me Lee until I got to college. All the way up into high school, everybody called me by my full name, which at first created that detachment from it. Everybody's calling you by this name that, I mean, it is my name, but it just didn't really feel aligned with it and who I was. And so when I got to college and everybody was calling me Lee, it was like a new personality, like a new person was born. And she was needed. College Lee. I had fun at school. Almost got kicked out, but I had fun at school. And so, yeah, this is another episode with Aaliyah. And as I was thinking about the different types of episodes that I've done so far, I've talked about my mental health journey. I've talked about relationships. I've talked about sex. I've talked about mental health, suicide ideation. There it is. So when I thought about what episode could I do today, and like when I tell you I literally just woke up, like I wouldn't be surprised if there's like boogers in my eyeballs or like crust on the side of my mouth, because there's so many times where I wake up and I had the feeling to record, but I'm just like, no, it doesn't look like this. I got a bra on. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it really stops my creative process. And so this morning I didn't even brush my teeth yet. I just woke up, got this goddamn tripod, my glasses, my notes, and said, let's go talk. Let's go yap. So the basis of the Inside Perspective is to think about the patterns and cycles that you have in your life that you aren't paying attention to, that's keeping you in the same space. That's keeping you around the same people. That's keeping you with the same shitty ass jobs. It's keeping you just stagnant. And so the Inside Perspective is my journey through diving deeper into myself, my cycles, my mindsets, and how I can change that. Coming out of college, I felt grown. But being grown and being an adult are two different things. Now that I've moved out, I got my own car, pay my own bills, I save, I have investment accounts, I have a 401k. For me, those are adulting things. And there's a lot of us that have been adulting since before we were even grown, which is another episode. About the trauma that comes from being parentified at a young age, and how now, presently, if majority of your friendships are based off of you being their caretaker, really is a parasitic relationship. We could say it could be symbiotic or commensalism. You know, you scratching somebody else's back that doesn't really even pay attention to it. But what you get from it is this sense of brain chemical release that reminds you of when you were younger or whenever you were parentified, that gave you that same chemical release that I'm doing a good job. And so that's why I'm not too big on trying to have those types of friends around me. It's not to say that they're not good people, because they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. But I always challenge my friends. I challenge everybody in my life. What is this action or behavior stemming from? It could be a good one, could be a bad one. Or if you don't like good, bad, it could be positive, could be negative. But it's still something that you partake in that could be triggered from you being traumatized at whatever point in your life. And I talk so deeply about these things of uncovering your traumas, talking about them, working through them, because you really aren't living your best life if you're not doing those things. You're just living the life that you like. That's good enough. And if that's enough, ball out. It's not to say that these people are bad people. There's a lot of things that happen in the world that it's very difficult to even just pay attention to yourself. I've made it my only primary goal is to focus on myself. I don't give a fuck about nothing else, truthfully, because I'm the person that goes to bed with myself every night. I'm the one that wakes up every day with me and my thoughts. And if I don't do the things to protect myself and to show up for myself day in and day out against whoever, whenever, I'm not protecting myself. And after I graduated college, I know it was after I was messing with this girl. When I was messing with this girl sophomore year, and then when I was messing with this girl after I had graduated. Those two gremlins, those two individuals made me see how important it was to protect myself and to pay attention to the type of cycles I was participating in to keep getting the same type of woman. Because honestly, gremlin after college wasn't too far from gremlin during college. It was like this thing of randomly being mean. Not even randomly, like you're upset about something that really may have nothing to do with me, but you take it out on me. You treat me differently. Like I did something to you. It's just one example. So when now I think about how mental health and adulting has crossed over for me, I thought about three specific areas, which were career, relationships, and your self-worth. When I say career, for me, what I did not like I started working and I love my job now. Both of them, quite frankly. Excuse me. What was the most difficult for me working as an administrator was being in my office for 8 hours a day and creating my own work daily. Like there's nobody coming in telling you like, oh yeah, reach out to so-and-so, get this in motion. This is the framework for this. This is the workshop we're doing it. Like you're creating all of that on your own. And for me, being in no mother four walls 8 hours a day, like I hated it. I hated it. I almost like it got to the point to where I hate going to work because it was monotonous. It was mad boring, and it gave my big ass head too much room to think about too much. And so I noticed the not wanting to go to work, not wanting to be at work, not wanting to talk to nobody at work. And I was like, dang, that's really not how I operate. Like typically I'm a person, I come in, I'm smiling, I'm looking forward to talking to people. How was your weekend? What's going on? We ain't got to talk too much, but I do like to touch base. And so I asked my mom because that lady been working her whole life in these specific spaces. And so I just was like, Mom, like, how you do this shit? And for one, I told her, I don't know how you would do this shit for 8 hours a day and come home and hear me asking for something or taking me to basketball practice or driving to a fucking tournament outside the state. I'm like, girl, I owe you something. But what she recommended to me is that I need to find a work routine that isn't just all about work. Like, of course, checking your emails, responding to emails, picking up, making some calls, Zoom meetings, those are all guarantees of work. And so she encouraged me to add some variables that would help kind of break up the monotony of the day. And so with where I work, I was able to visit different buildings on campus, or take a walk. There's a park really close to one of the campuses when I work at that campus. And so I will start to break my day up as, okay, in the morning, I do my biggest tasks. So any presentations that I have to give, any workshops that I plan on doing, any trainings that I'm going to provide. My brain's the biggest and the readiest whenever I get to work. And it could be the opposite for you. So starting with that hard work first, around 12 o'clock, that's my break time. So I go either walk around the building or I take me a nice little mile walk, and use my lunch to walk and just work through my lunch because there really isn't nothing immediate to speak. And so bringing those variables into my life really helped me like work again. I was excited, like I'm getting up on time. I'm not waking up at the time I'm supposed to be leaving because I just was unhappy with being there. So I had to create my space, create my own timeline at work. And the mindset shift that I had to do was, I'm not on company time. Like, yes, I'm at work, clearly, but this is still my time. I signed up for this job, so I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna do it my way, so that I can still be productive for my company daily. Saying that out loud was like, oh my God, not an allegiance to a company. Take that with a grain of salt. I mean, I am very much so like, if you got a job, love your job, do your job. But I'm also very much so, why aren't we all butt naked eating grapes using a barter system? But it is what it is. And so finding the purpose in what I do at work, adding those variables, being in communication with my supervisor so they're also aware of some of the challenges that I'm going through. Like, this was like my first 6 months at work ever after being at school, coming through the fucking pandemic. Like, it was tough. It was really, really tough. But now I can say I found me a great flow. So much so that I decided to go get another fucking job. So finding that balance in my career when it came to my mental health has removed a lot of gray area for me, because I hate gray area. I mean, sometimes it's necessary, but for the most part, if it doesn't need to be there, I hate it. Which honestly walks us into a very nice space. The next idea that came to my mind was, because I think I said all three of them: career, relationship, and self-worth. So the next one being relationships. For me, I felt like it was harder to maintain relationships because everybody is at a different point or perspective or mindset of their life. Like me, my only concern after graduating was getting a job, maintaining that job, and building wealth and having fun. So I went to DC whenever I wanted to go see my lady. I'd go to, shit, where else did I go? I can't even fucking remember. North Carolina, South Carolina. I would just be out because I had time and I ain't got no dependents. I think the biggest thing, though, is, yes, the perspective, but the maturity and the mindset. Some people are my age were getting married right now. They on their second kid right now. They're getting married or they're getting divorced. My brain wasn't worried about really trying to be encapsulated with another person. Like, yes, I have my relationship. I love my lady to death. Her and I are mature enough to understand out, for one, we're long distance. But for two, the easier way to make sure that when we are together, that we are our most powerful beings is if we pour into ourselves the most right now, as specifically with our careers and with the trajectory of our careers. And so I guess for me, it made my brain not have to think much about relationships, or trying to build a romantic relationship, because I just knew that me and my lady's on lock. I'm focusing on me, she focusing on her, and whenever we come together, it's going to be like the big boom, the big bang. Yeah, the Big Bang Theory. Yes, that created the universe. Absolutely. Um, so my first rule to you, like, because like I mentioned, like all the different spaces that people are in, do not compare yourself to shit. Do not compare yourself to anyone. It's pointless. We're all at different stages and spaces of our life. Some of us have more emotional maturity than others. Some of us have more emotional responsibility than others. Some of us are more focusing on our spiritual accountability and spiritual health than going to the club, going out, doing any of those things. And so it's not to say you got to ditch those friends. Some of them you do have to get rid of. But it's not to say to ditch those friends, but you just may need some space from those friends. And if they can't understand that that's the point of where you're at in life, because they want you to do something, just know that they never really gave a fuck about you. They just cared about what energy you brought to the space. Most of the time, energy vampires, narcissists, sucky ass people, in short. Um, the best thing that you could do is distance yourself and show empathy to yourself and others. Because it's not a judgment thing. Everybody gonna do what they do with their life. That's the point of life, is to have fun with where you're at and where you're doing it. Everybody has their specific personal ideas and plans and trajectories for themselves. Mine was to uproot any type of negative mindsets, traumas, processing things that I never felt. I wanted to do all that because when it's time for me, yes, turn off my alarm, I'm awake. When it comes for me, my biggest motivators is my kids and my legacy. And I'd be damned. I'll be goddamned if I allow anything that I could have seen, saw, whatever, managed before they got here be impacted by them. I know I'm not going to solve everything. It's impossible. You don't know everything. You can't see everything yet. But the shit that I can see, that I do want to change, it's my main priority. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. The club's still going to be open next week. That man probably still going to be cheating on you next week that you still talking about. And your mama's still not going to be shit for how she treating you. So I will show you the support that I can while I can. But after a while, if you're not going to do nothing to change your situation, please stop coming to me about it. I can give you the advice. I can give you the tools. This is a perfect example. Y'all know that post on Instagram. You talk about God will give you flowers, sugar, sprinkles, the cake, the kitchen, the whisk, everything that you need, and you'll be mad because you don't have the cake. There's certain people in your life that are like that, and I think it just kind of happens as you're growing up. You kind of just become friends with people that are around you, and then when you start to see how their mentality truly is and how they think and how they operate, it's kind of just like, you all right, big dog? Here's this therapist. And I know therapy is not the answer for everything, but it's damn sure a good fucking start. Whether you get there and you realize you don't like the person, whether you get there and you realize this isn't the right type of therapy, maybe you don't need talk therapy. Maybe you need EMDR. Jeez, did I just have a stroke? But yeah, maybe you need EMDR. Maybe you need something different. Maybe you need physical therapy. Like maybe you need to genuinely move the shit through your body. But giving up on yourself just to do the same monotonous bullshit that you've been doing is so fucking whack to me. That is so whack. Out of all the ways you can move, out of all the ways that you can do things, you decided doing the same shit was the best option. These are conversations that I've had with myself in the mirror, like in high school or college. Like really just asking myself, girl, this is the same shit you've been doing and you over here thinking you're gonna get a different response. That's quite literally the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different reaction. And so I went in my cocoon. And I started focusing on What do I want for myself, and how do I want, and who's in the way? How do I need to get there? And who is my means of support? That mindset forced me into seeing my self-worth. And we could talk about self-worth in terms of your career and relationships, but I want to talk about it independently at first. Um, the first thing I have written down is a new environment and old behaviors don't mix. They just generally don't mix. You can't keep acting the same way in new spaces and thinking that shit gonna jive. And I feel like the reason why, for me, I was still relying on my old behaviors is because I knew myself in those spaces. Like, I knew how quiet Aaliyah reacted. I knew how humble Aaliyah would respond to disrespect. I felt comfortable in that space because I knew that space. I said, because how are they going to respond if I cuss them out? How are they going to respond if I just walk away? And so I needed to develop new behaviors that aligned with a higher value of self-worth so that I could really be 10 toes down for myself, so that I wasn't accepting things that were beneath me. A lot of us do. Since I was mindful of my self-worth and how I was reacting to new situations with old behaviors, the next time that new situation or that new environment popped up, they got a new me. They got the self-aware me. They got the Aaliyah that loved herself so much that she'd be damned if she'd allow any minuscule molecule of disrespect happen in or around her and not address it the way that I would want to, the way that it would deserve to be addressed for me. When I started doing that, boy, it was scary at first. It was genuinely scary because I'm just like, oh my God, if I respond this way, I may lose this person. In this environment that you share with this person, do you need a taker or a giver? Do you need the balance of both? Is this person capable of that? And I would have conversations, I would reach out, I would try to still, because I've never been really the type of person that just like cuss somebody off. No words, no nothing. I usually communicate, speak, try my best to be heard and to listen, and not listen just to response, but listen to truly understand where a person's coming from. But when I see in their response that it's just projection and bullshit, it's kind of just like, oh, because you're a taker. You don't know how to be in a conversation that has big emotions, that has big feelings with it, because you're just used to taking shit and dipping. You're not used to this part of a connection. And so that really led me back to my self-worth, because I was like, damn, I give a fuck enough about myself to process the big feelings, to feel shitty from mistakes that I've made, to feel the disappointment from myself and others from the things that I've done. But I've also known how to feel the greatness of my being because I've accomplished something that I've been working towards for however long. I finally framed my degree. I think like last week, 3 weeks ago, a bitch was crying. Because I never sat with the fact that I did that shit. I did 4 years of fucking biology at an academically rigorous school. Sophomore year was something. Spring semester, sophomore year. But I brought my GPA up almost 2.3 points in a year and a half. 3 semesters. Because I knew what I was capable of. I was fucking around, having fun. And so my self-worth has been tied to so many things now. It's not just about, am I pretty? Yes, that's important, but it's more than just, am I pretty? Am I smart? But now it's that, and Am I kind? How do I show up for myself? How do I advocate for myself? How do I advocate for others? How do I stand up in moments where somebody needs protection and I'm one of those people that can be that can do that? Those all tie into self worth for me. Those tie into what type of person are you? What type of person do you want to be? I'm still not 100% the woman that I know I am, but I'm damn sure at 75. This time last year, I think a bitch was at 2. Still dealing with drama, bullshit, excuses from myself and others. Um, and when I turned 25 last year, it was like, oh shit, okay, I'm a little grown. Adulting, if you will. Excuse me. And so between, I just turned 26 last month. And so with me being 25 and then growing into 26, there were things of adulting that I didn't consider, like, like whatever. But being decisive, having decisive language, and I literally seen a video about this on TikTok. And that's how I know my spirit team is just always working and connecting, because I was just thinking about how being a part of being an adult is being confident and decisive with your language and your words. Like, yes, no, not, oh, well, maybe. Either take it into consideration, yes, no. Those are the options I gave myself. Having decisive language for me shows a level of confidence and a level of obedience and self-assurance and self-awareness to, yes, this is for me. No, it is not for me. Let me take some more time to research and I'll get back to you. Those are the options. Because when people used to ask me, oh, you want to go outside? Oh, I think about it. That's a no. Just say no. When I'm at the doctor's office, and I had a shitty ass doctor one time, and they were just like talking at me. It was almost as if like my body parts that we were talking about specifically wasn't connected to me. And I challenged them on it. And I said, I know you're used to looking at, coochies all the time. But this one's connected to me. And I have a few more questions for you before you depart the room. May we get into that? Or do I need to leave a voicemail on your inbox or your supervisor's inbox? Because it's not about trying to be a tattletale. It's not about any of that. I have a need that needs to be met. You have the means to meet that need. Let's get into it. Thanks. And some people will take that as being, depending upon the tone and how everything goes throughout the conversation. Some people will take that as being, what's the word? Condescending or rude or mean. Me is just like, no, this is the point, and I want to make sure we get to it and not dance around it. Because then I still go home left with the same fucking questions that I had when I came, and that wasn't the point of this interaction. You gotta hunker in. You gotta see what's up. You have to see what needs need to be met for yourself, for your current self, your past self, all the versions of yourself. Gotta look at that inside perspective and see how you're viewing not only yourself but the world and others, and seeing how things challenge you, seeing how things overlap. Finally feeling the hurt from something that you've tried to run away from for so long. A lot of y'all are fucking track stars. Just running from shit, running to shit, running away from a trauma, running into another trauma, not realizing it's the same trauma that you just ran from in a different font. I don't think I judge people when it comes to that. I think my body wants to, but that was because I am very judgmental of myself. Very. Out of all the fucking ideas you had, Aaliyah, that's the one you fuck. Like, that's how I used to talk to myself. And so the biggest thing that I've been working with my therapist is holding grace and empathy for myself. the same way that I do for others, because I would consider other people so much that I would neglect myself. And I ain't doing that fuck shit no more. I've come to the other side and I've seen the benefits of putting yourself first and spending time with all the versions of your body, all the versions of your mind that you've grown through, that you hold, that you encapsulate, that shows up in your day-to-day life unconsciously. That, to me, is adulting and taking care of your mental health. Because without that shit, you really just out here, another body walking. You're not even present. You just detach from your body, so everything's a trigger. Everything just pisses you off. You pop off at anything. That's not life. That's hell. And I know that shit uncomfortable. So my advice to you would be to slow down. Before you make that next decision, before you walk into that next cycle, think about it. Non-judgmentally. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some room to breathe and think. Is this the best opportunity for me right now? With every decision you do. I have a bit of an advantage with, ADHD, autism and ADHD. Brain moves like this all day, every day, no matter what. Sad, happy, whatever. Brain is on a fucking wheel. And so I program my body that every time I'm about to do something, is this going to help me now or later? Do I need to do this now or later? And what impact is this going to have on me now or later? Do I need help? Who can I ask for help? Blah, 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 blah. The inside perspective is so much deeper than just the hand in the brain. And the logo is like that specifically because it's about taking your own destiny. For a while, I even thought about changing the ring to a double helix. Because, I'm into epigenetics and how the outside world and trauma can literally change the genetic makeup of your body. But right now, it's a ring, a gold ring, because it made me think of Sonic. That was pretty cool. But just to show how important and show how important and how big you really are in your life. Like to have the hand wrapped around that, knowing that at any point in time you can grab control of what you're doing in your life and how you're doing it and change that shit. To look deeper into the things that we're doing and how they're impacting our internal being. How does your inside perspective show up for you? A lot of gems, a lot of questions that you can sit and ask with yourself and really decide the type of person that you want to continue being. I can say over here on the light side, and there's the the what you call it, come on the dark side, we got cookies. I don't want to call it light or dark. I just want to call it a side that's in your best interest. It's a lot more free over on this side, friend. And I'm not even completely there yet. I'm still learning as I go. But I've created an amazing support system and people that I can genuinely depend on no matter what. I don't have to be my best. They don't have expectations of me that I know I cannot reach. They communicate to me when they feel as though I'm not meeting a certain marker or goal for myself or for our friendship, our relationship. It's just really nice to be able to know that you can have conversation with people and then not end up in conflict. It feels nice to know that I can talk about my feelings and it's not going to turn into an argument. I can bring up something that someone has done in my life and they're not going, well, you da 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 da. Those are toxic behaviors that I no longer align myself with. And it feels fucking great. At first it felt lonely, but I needed to be alone. I needed to get rid. I needed to become so deep in my solitude so that I can only hear my mind. And so then that I can differentiate between the voices that were in my head and signify if they were even my own. The most judgmental parts of myself were voices that weren't even my own. Old coaches, old hater ass bitches I had as friends. Those were their voices. They were never mine. And if I didn't take the time to slow down and filter that out, I'd still be in a place of like, I gotta keep doing more. I gotta keep doing this. I gotta keep being this in order to maintain, in order to stay relevant, in order. None of it's necessary. Taking care of yourself, focusing on yourself. There's a myriad of ways to do it. For me, the most transformative and the best way to do it is to really stop all the shit that you're doing. See all the stuff that you're doing, like Monday through or Sunday through Saturday. The fuck am I saying? Sunday through Saturday. Sunday through Monday. A week, bitch. Damn. Write down everything that you do. Everything. Oh, you smoked a blunt, you went to work, had lunch, so-and-so pissed you off throughout the day. Like every single thing you do, write it down. Trust me. And then on another piece of paper, write down how you would want your week to go. And rip both them pages out, set them right next to each other. See what the fuck needs to go from that current weekly plan. See what needs to be removed. Because if you know that you're trying to get to this next step, like, you know, you want to spend your Sundays writing, or you want to spend your Saturdays editing, whatever, but you keep going outside, you keep traveling over to that friend's house that keep crying about that same A shit motherfucker, either bring your work with you, if you still want to show up for that person, or you focus on yourself and you take some time to do the writing, do the editing, reading the book, cleaning the house, whatever it is. Nobody said that you can't go check on Shorty tomorrow. Is she suicidal? Because then that changes things. But if she's sad, maybe she need to sit in that shit. Maybe they need to sit in that shit for a little bit. Some of us are so quick to go rescue somebody from those uncomfortable feelings when they really need to feel that shit. So you take your 2 calendars out of the week, see what needs to be removed, and see how you can get closer to the being that you want to be versus the being that you are right now. Think about the steps that it might take, what needs to be removed, what needs to be added, what needs to change, what mindset shift do you need to go from? Are you in a mindset of lack when you need to be in a mindset of abundance? For me, it was fun to walk through those phases and spaces of my life because it will remind me of past versions of myself and how I react to things. Sometimes it was really cringy and uncomfortable, and other times it was really funny and like, oh, you was that bitch, you know? But all in all, rescuing yourself as yourself is one of the most powerful things you can ever do. Rescuing others, yes, important work, imperative work. But you can't rescue somebody in 1,000 pieces. Whether you in those pieces or they in those pieces. So it's time to step back and think about what are the parts of you that need saved, specifically by you. It's a way for you to be more confident and live a life of abundance. And you get to determine what that abundance is. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Inside Perspective with your girl, Aaliyah. Aaliyah. It's so funny. Sometimes even hearing my name for a while was like, that's my shit. Because I was so used to hearing Lee. But anywho's, tune in next week, or maybe in 2 weeks, to the next episode. Might be talking about something that a lot of us deal with consistently. We'll see. Until next time, friends.